Hey, welcome back. This is the Mini Town Bicycle Series video number 4. So to recap, in the last 3 videos we concepted the bike, then we designed the geo in BikeCAD, and then rough cut the tubes. Then somewhere in there I messed around with a low-cost bicycle frame jig. That's the jig we're using for this build. In this video we will modify a wheel truer and start building a wheel, then tack and weld the C-tube to the bottom bracket shell. Let's get started. So I originally wasn't going to do a video of this, but I thought it was kind of interesting, and so I'll share this process with you guys. This is a wheel truer that I had purchased. One thing I didn't like about it is there were these, they're kind of like, you know, the calipers. All right, so the calipers were fixtured to this plate, and I took it all apart, but when it was assembled, it looked something like this. And what they did is they pinched on the rim, and you'd use that as a guide to kind of, you know, when you're touring a wheel, to see where the rim should line up. I guess in my experience, this isn't enough. I also want to adjust and fine-tune the actual pointers. So what I did is I went ahead and I cut this guy off on both of these, and I'm going to 3D print a tuner on here, and this is all I have for now, but I'm going to use a 1/4-20 screw to kind of like tune how close this comes in. All right, here we are in Fusion 360. This is free software that you can download. I've got this part that I modeled, and this is where that screw will fit through. And this little bit right here, this little slot, that's where the that metal rectangular arm from the caliper that you saw, that end that I cut off, that will slide right into here. And I've got it set up where I hope it'll just be a snug fit. I can like just press fit it into here and not have to worry about securing it with a screw or anything. We'll print this out, see how it goes, and see how it fits. Okay, I thought it might be interesting to show you the general process of 3D printing something from Fusion 360 to the 3D printer. So this here is Prusa Slicer. This is free software as well. I exported this STL file out of Fusion 360. You take it, you drop it on here, you hit slice, and then it kind of shows you like a little preview of how this thing will get sliced. So then from here, you just like export that out, and it'll export out, I believe it's G-code, which some of you guys are familiar with, I'm sure. So you take the G-code, you put it on an SD card, and then you put the SD card in the machine and tell it to print. All right, it looks pretty good. This is on the draft setting, so there's different settings which let you print at different speeds. The longer ones print better quality, and the shorter ones, like this one, draft, will print faster. All right, so I tried fitting it in here, and as you can see, I ran into a little problem here. Here's what we got. Here was this was version 1, and what I did is I did a version 2. I made a little more space. I also beefed up the thickness of these sides, but this wasn't quite the right size either. It broke there, and so here's version 3, and we're gonna give that a shot. Looks like they lined up pretty well. Okay, I've got this thing all set up and ready to go. Okay, may be hard to see from the video, but there is a substantial amount of space left over. So I'm pretty sure that I mismeasured these spokes. So I'm gonna need to cut these, thread them and cut them. And so I ordered a spoke threader. I tightened both sides, and you can see it is it's sticking out the end of the nipple. So it looks to be roughly, I'd say as much as 3 millimeters too large. Okay, so I had to order a spoke threader online, and it ended up arriving pretty soon, but not in time for this video. So we're gonna move on to the seat tube and tacking that to the bottom bracket. Hey guys, welcome back. So today I thought it would be good to move on to the bottom bracket and the C-tube next. That's usually the next step, the first step I will take when it comes to mitering the first tube. So before I did that, I wanted to make sure that I'm dealing with the correct size. So I came in here and I punched in all my numbers. I took measurements off the bottom bracket that I had. It's the same type that I had from before. It's a 68 millimeter, and the spindle on it is what is it, 100? Yeah, it's a 103. It has a 103 millimeter drive. So after I punched in those numbers, I ended up with a chain line that was not correct. You can see here I fixed it. I adjusted the spindle length, and I've determined that I need a 110 spindle. And so I've gone ahead and ordered that. So I now have a bottom bracket that's in the mail with a 110 spindle length. And what that has done is it's pushed my cranks out just enough to get my chain line perfectly. I printed these out online and took measurements off of my hub and entered it in here. So I had to do these anyway for the spoke. And then I went ahead and entered it into BikeCAD. So I know these measurements are correct, and these are correct. And as you can see, I've already bent my chainstays in BikeCAD and all that jazz. So this thing's ready to go. I'm gonna print this out, but I don't actually need this right now. The only reason I did this is I just wanted to make sure that this bottom bracket, 68 millimeter from here to here, is the correct length. I wasn't sure if I'd need something a little wider, which I did not. So I'm going to go ahead and weld a C-tube to this size. All right, so I marked this kind of using it like plotting ink or whatever, and with the Sharpie. Little sanity check here. I've got the tube on the drawing, and I'm going to just kind of give it a little. Yeah, that looks correct. Okay, somewhere in here I have the right size. It's not that. I might have to use this thing that I made a while back. I don't know if this is the right size. Don't know if it'll fit in here. I think I have a bigger one somewhere. Actually, yeah, that fits. You just want to make sure the corners here aren't flattening out onto the tube. So they go past the tube, so it's touching in all the right places. Okay, next we want to get the right miter saw. So this is our bottom bracket, and it's looking like this guy right here, a 38 millimeter. Sounds right. I'm all set up here, and I'm going to show you guys how I like to do these cuts. I like to be a little outside and then kind of like sneak in on it while the tool is turning. Like if you were to like say line it up by one of these teeth here, it would, and if you, let's say you lined it up perfectly, when you make the cut's actually going to stick a little further out because these things, they wobble a little. It was super hard to see the mark on camera, so what I did is I dropped a piece of tape on there. So I'm not going to use any lubricant yet because I want to be able to see what the heck I'm doing. Okay. All right, it's just enough. And now I'm going to move in on it. I think that's it. Okay, we're back, and I almost forgot to cut the holes in this before I tack welded the C-tube to it. I got it washed and everything, but now I gotta cut these holes and get more cutting fluid on this. So the way I marked the holes is I stuck it on the drawing and just kind of used the drawing to line up where my holes will go. And the chainstay distance, I figured that out by the chainstay printout. So I stuck the tube on here, and then I got my chainstay distances. And another thing I noticed while I was doing this is I had not updated my drawing. So I've since updated this whole drawing, and these chainstays I made them longer because I realized they were like way too short before. So now they are coming in at 370 millimeters long. Something I almost forgot to mention is when you drill holes for the chainstays, you've got to be aware of the drive side, because once you drill these holes, this bottom bracket shell cannot be flipped the other way. It can't be flipped the wrong way at this point. So chainstays come out this way, drive side on the right side. And you'll know the drive side because it has a groove here. So I'm going to work my way up. I think this is a size Z. Not gonna tighten it yet. I'm gonna get this little guy back in here so I can line it up. Probably didn't need to go this last one. Yeah. All right, these guys don't need to be as big. I'm gonna put it on the bottom bracket jig. So this doesn't need to be perfectly centered yet. I'm gonna get it onto the jig and then I'll need to center it up. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm gonna do it with this thing vertical. Yeah. Okay. All right, I've got it all centered up and ready to tack. All right, that was my first tack weld in about a year on a bicycle tube. And I didn't know what to expect, but it came out pretty good. So I'm gonna pull this off and get you guys a closer look. You can see I went for a 3 pattern on each side. When you tack the seat tube to the bottom bracket, you never want to start here in the corner, because what it does is it pulls it, and it'll pull your seat tube possibly out of alignment. So yeah, always do one of these first. Okay guys, one quick look before I take this off so you can see where it is. It's how far out of alignment it is. And so what I'm going to do, or what I've done, is I've marked it where I need to weld first, what side it needs to be welded on first. So that should hopefully pull it in, and we'll give that a shot. Okay, here's what I got. Let's see if it pulled it in. Let's stick it on there. It's still a little hot, so gotta watch it. Doesn't look like it pulled it very much. Doesn't look like it pulled it hardly at all. So I think I'm gonna need to get this thing on my alignment table and try to force it down. I just took it off the alignment table, and I gave it a little force, pushed down on it. It didn't need much, and now here it is, and we're back into alignment. It barely took anything. And the strange thing about this is when it was on this table, it was saying it was going the other direction. So that's the thing about these tables. When you use the bottom bracket as a datum, that's not the most reliable place to be checking your alignment. Yeah, you gotta kind of use these with a grain of salt. What's really important is once you get it on your jig, that all the stuff on your jig lines up. What's important is that your jig is straight, and I'm pretty confident this jig is straight. All right, so I think we're gonna continue on welding and finish up. Probably start with the front of the tube and the back, not the corner, because I don't want it to pull back into the other direction again. Okay, here it is. I'm gonna call that pretty close. And we're all welded up. Okay, that is a wrap. I've got to call it here. Thank you guys for watching. In the next video, we'll get back onto that wheel and hopefully finish it up, finish the rear wheel as well, and then back onto the rest of the tubes for this bike. We'll see if we can get the main triangle welded or at least started. All right, thanks. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.